Art, what's up, man?
Oh, nothing much. Glad you're here.
Thank you very much. We've had a good couple of days here with you, man. Getting to see the process of buying a gun, getting to go on the range with Bob and shoot and kind of talk about what it's like, how you can train on an indoor range with y'all rules and other people's rules and everything else, man. It's been great. Y'all have a phenomenal gun store
Yeah,
here.
we appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, and I think it shows too, the staff. You know, people you show up and people enjoy their jobs. You know,
Yeah.
like that's a good thing.
Well, yeah.
And then seeing all the people come in, how diverse the crowd is that comes in here. Like there's no stereotype of people. We saw that yesterday filming just on the showroom floor and in the range. It's pretty impressive what you guys have done.
Well, you know, that's the way Nashville is. It's a very diverse city, and so
Yeah.
we're very lucky to have that population to draw from. So, but no, appreciate you guys doing it. I think it's a good story to
Yeah.
share information, you know, about what retail, indoor range, training, and all, what that's about. Because a lot of people don't know. They have an idea, but until they actually go somewhere, and they don't know. So I think it's a very good thing. Very
Good,
good
man.
thing.
Good. Yeah, we're excited to put the videos out. I think it'll help a lot of people. The videos we kind of kept, and you guys all see it out there, because we've released these videos prior to this, that it's kind of that first-time gun buyer. We've got a lot of first-time gun buyers right now in this industry and a lot of other things. But before we get into that, how did you get to this point? Running roll range and doing what you do. Where'd you come from? What's your background? And
Well, for me, I'm an old Army guy. I did a short time in the Army, infantry, 11 Bravo. Got out, went into law enforcement. Started out as a patrol deputy. Ended up working task force, canine drug interdiction, and then did a time on a murder task force as an investigator. And I finished up my career basically as a SWAT commander for a judicial district attorney's office.
Nice.
And then after I retired there, I did about 23 years in law enforcement. And I went overseas with what was originally a 2-year plan. It ended up being almost 10 years. First few years overseas, I ran the tactical training for the State Department in Afghanistan.
Nice.
And then after that, I did a little PSD work in Baghdad. And then I finished up with a little over 5 years running explosive canine patrol dogs in Iraq and in Afghanistan.
Very cool.
And then got out, came home in May of 2015, didn't know what I was going to do. Somebody told me about a job here at this new indoor range. They needed range safety officers and instructors, so I threw my name in the hat, and that's where I started. And about 5 months into the job, I got asked to run it.
Fair enough.
So that's where I'm at now.
You must have been doing something right. So.
I'd rather be lucky than good, but it doesn't help to learn from your mistakes,
That's true. That's true. So roll range is kind of different. This used to be a movie theater.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This was actually a movie theater until 2010. And in 2010, Nashville experienced a very devastating flood. It was what was called the 1,000-year flood. And so parts of downtown and all the way out here in the west end of Nashville actually flooded. In our retail space, it was 8 to 10 foot of water that was out there. And so, after the flood of 2010, it stayed empty. And our main investor here, he decided that he wanted to make a statement about the Second Amendment. He wasn't really a huge gun owner. I mean, even today, I think he owns 3 guns.
Yeah.
But he just said, hey, everybody's got the right to defend themselves. So Royal Range was created with the idea of providing a place for recreation, competition, and training. And little did we know later on it would also morph into entertainment. It being, Nashville with the parties and things like that.
What do you mean by entertainment?
Well, Nashville is like #1 in the country for bachelorette parties.
Yeah.
And it's like #2 for bachelor parties.
They got it on billboards all over the city too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, we have an SOT, we have a gunsmith shop, we do some manufacturing. And so we knew what Battlefield Vegas was doing, with their machine guns and their rentals. And we thought, well, that might just be an additional revenue stream for us. And so we decided, they were having this Pink Bride thing down at, I think it was down there at one of the big arenas downtown. And that's a showcase for when you're getting married. You can see all the different things to do. So for 2 years in a row, we rented a table, took our machine guns, went down there and just showed the possibilities. So it's kind of strange, you got wedding gowns, and you got diamond rings, and you got caterers and all this, and you got a bunch of us knuckle draggers over there with M60s and 240 Bravos and stuff like that, trying to tell you about what kind of experience you could have while you're in Nashville. And it works out. I mean, this month alone, I think we're going to be doing almost 50 parties this month,
Really?
not counting events. And for events, I mean like corporate team building. We actually do those things. And believe it or not, there's divorce parties, and there's birthday parties and anniversary parties.
Yeah.
And there's all kind of folks that love Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
And they come in there and they say, "Oh, I know this gun." Well, they know it from that video game.
Yeah.
And for them, you know, it's a must-do moment. It's a bucket list to be able to fire that particular gun that they're used to playing with on you know, on the gamer at home or whatever. And so it's been huge for us. And for most of us here, we're like, oh my gosh, we never thought that was going to be a great revenue stream. Of course, under COVID, it kind of went away for a while.
Yeah.
But it's came back with a vengeance. Nashville has really came back with a vengeance. You know, since everything's opened back up.
Yeah, it seemed like it. The store, like, what time does your store open in the morning? About 10 o'clock?
We open at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, and from the moment you guys open, people are coming in. Absolutely. I mean, during the week, we've been here on a Tuesday to check it out. Yesterday, Wednesday filming. Today, Thursday, and every morning there's people in here. Oh, yeah. So it's good to see that people are getting back out. In other states, it's not like that. You know, like there's still states that are harping on this stuff. And since we talked about COVID, you know, we're all kind of tired of COVID, but you brought up something yesterday and you talked about the exhaust system, right? The air system that you guys have. And right behind me is actually this door back here, and we opened it up. It blew my mind, right? Because nobody ever thinks about the air system, right? So when everything with COVID was going on, it was kind of stepping up. You mentioned something about how many seconds does it take to recycle the air?
30 seconds for our range number 3, which is our 60-yard rifle range. So there's 10 bays, 60 yards, rated for 50 cal fully automatic.
Yeah.
Pretty decent sized space, and we're able to recycle the air, every cubic foot of air every 30 seconds. Which you compare that to a normal mall, you know, and sometimes a mall is, you know, 30, 40 minutes to recircle the air, depending on, you know, how many people are actually in the mall, the square footage, and so forth. Our particular exhaust system cost over $1 million. So it's very clean air, and it helped us out a lot last year during COVID. Nashville had a lot of restrictions. Davidson County, of course, Nashville, you know, is the capital of Tennessee, and so it's a bit progressive. Yeah. So the rules were enforced very heavy here, and we actually had the folks that were part of the COVID task force, and actually the doctor that was head of it came out here and he looked at it and he said, "Oh my goodness, this is wonderful as far as the clean air and so forth." So even though when we first started, you know, we did all the things, the COVID guidelines, you know, skip a lane and the cones and the social distancing and all, but it was an exciting time last year. It was different times for the gun industry, to say the least. Yeah,
it is, and it seems like things are changing now. We talked about that. I want to get into that a little bit later, but you guys have built, you know, between the $1 million air system, right? And you guys overcame a lot with the COVID restrictions that a lot of their businesses in general, not just ranges, but businesses couldn't overcome, right? And we're lucky because this isn't California and it ain't New York, right?
Absolutely.
But at the same time, you still got stuff to do. What really made you guys able to overcome that and not, I don't say be a victim, but, you know, be successful during that time? Was it how you ran the range? Was it fortunately that the restrictions here weren't, you know, too strict, or what was it that really made you guys pull through COVID and do all that?
I think the restrictions were, of course, it was very challenging. Yeah. Because they were changing. And they got very restrictive.
Flavor of the week kind of thing.
They got very restrictive.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we closed one day. And one day that we closed was because we were deemed non-essential. And luckily in the state of Tennessee, in our Constitution, it shows that gun sales, gun shops are an essential item, essential business. And luckily we knew that. Yeah. And so we were able to get somebody to get a hold of the governor's office and actually gave us a kind of a proclamation on that. Good. And so we were able to open up the very next day. And of course there were several other gun stores in the area that said, okay, they've done it. And of course, you know, we're going to talk about it on social media. Yeah. And so that allowed everybody else to open up. But there for one day, you know, we were told that we couldn't open. And then of course, you know, we were worrying about, you know, the driving regulations, essential personnel. So we went through all that. And then of course the ammo and the firearms buying frenzy took over kind of right after the toilet paper situation of 2020.
Yeah.
You know?
I'd rather have no toilet paper than no ammo right now. I'll tell you
There's
that
coffee
much.
filters. There's all kind of alternatives.
Yeah, you get
to toilet
socks
paper.
and
Yeah,
you know, all
absolutely.
kind of crap. But
Yeah.
so, well, you guys talk about what makes a good gun range. You mentioned your parties, right? But you guys have expanded a lot. So I think one of the big things with gun ranges is that the traditional viewpoint of the stereotype of a gun range is you go in, there's somebody in there who's probably a little bit negative personality. They're going to tell you what you actually need, not what you want, and it's usually not a good experience for people. And I think the big thing about gun ranges right now is they're not doing enough to bring in people from outside of the strict gun community, right? Proper.
I agree.
And you guys have done, you're doing parties, right? You have the force on force area, what I call the shoot house. We got force on force area. You've got classes that you do, and you guys just added a jiu-jitsu gym in the back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have about eight jiu-jitsu classes every week. We partnered up with Legion BJJ Checkmat, and they've got like 4 other locations in the greater metro area. But yeah, the main thing that we do here is customer service.
Yeah.
We want everybody to feel welcome, and we decided really quick we didn't want to have the good old boys club. You know, back in the day when I was a lot younger, you'd walk into a gun store and, like you said, they would tell you what they want you needed, no matter what you said.
Yeah.
And you know, back then, women, you know, were just like drug in there with their significant others or whatever.
Yeah.
But you know, we have a women's shooting club here. We have an outlaw shooting league. We do IDPA twice a month here. We have a RED, Retired and Extremely Dangerous, you know, which is a senior shooting league that we do here. So.
I love that name, by the way.
Yeah, it's probably copyright infringement, but I mean, still, we thought it was a great idea. But whether it's a RSO, which is range safety officer, or retail, or trainer, whatever, we want to make sure that everybody is treated with ultimate respect. We want to have a conversation. We don't want to give you an opinion. We want to hear what your story is, what your questions are, and then once we ascertain what's going on, then we can make suggestions.
Yeah.
And of course, we have a lot of rental guns here. We'll take people on the range to try things out. We have a new shooter program here that you can come in here and you can try guns. And we got some really great instructors that are going to work on the fundamentals. And once they get past the fundamentals, you know, it's kind of a stair-step thing. We do a ton of privates here.
Yeah.
And we're real picky about people treating our customers right.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that we look at each and every day. You know, you can always do things with products and pricing and displays, and that's so very important. But the most important thing for us is customer service and safety.
Yeah.
And so you know, for our range, we'll have at least 1, if not 2 to 3 or more range safety officers. And these guys go through training. They've got certification, whether it's NRA or in-house, former law enforcement instructors. Just about everybody we've got here has got some sort of history in the firearms industry. Now, that being said, we have a few folks that we've hired that we've taught. They have the right attitude, they have the right presence of mind. But that's the main thing we look for. We look for our, you know, customer service engagement, no matter what walk of life you're from, no matter what your ideologies are. We don't care. I mean, somebody I read was like 8.6 million new gun owners. You know, so let's just say 8 million.
Yeah.
Last year we experienced sales like never before, and we experienced people that were buying guns for one reason or another: zombie apocalypse, fear of crime, social unrest, whatever their reason. They were they were buying guns, they were buying armor, they were buying, you know, helmets, ammunition, for whatever reason. And the reasons were varied. I seen one professor come in here in a Maserati, and he bought 4 ARs and 4 sets of armor and 4 bump helmets. And, you know, I'm like, and I'm not sure he knew how to use it. So we gave him some information and some discount codes and said, hey, come back, we'll give you some training to help you out. We'll give you some stuff gratis because, you know, we don't want anybody, you know, to hurt themselves.
Yeah.
But I think that's the main thing that we do different here, that is our customer engagement and people feel safe.
Yeah.
We don't try to be judgmental. We're not in there over your back or over your shoulder trying to just dog you out like a range safety officer, Nazi type individual. But we want you to be safe, and we want the person shooting next to you to feel safe also. But you know, we have the ability to get draw cards here, so you can actually draw from the holster while you're online with a table dropped. But you have to meet certain criteria, and there's only a few of us here that can sign off on that. But once you get that draw card, you come in, you show it, boom, you're good to go.
Yeah, we talked to Bob about that earlier. We filmed that with him, and that's something you can't do at a lot of ranges. You can't draw, right? Well, he's like, well, if you feel comfortable, you know, and we're going to sign off on it, and we're going to accept that liability, you can do it. And that's cool. And kind of going back to what you talked about, the customer service. We did that video yesterday, how to buy your first gun. Kind of start to finish what to expect from the customer's viewpoint and then what they can expect when they get to the range. We had Noah working with us. Noah's a younger guy, right? And if he's not younger, he sure as hell looks like it.
He's a younger guy.
Yeah, and you got him, you got Alex, like he's another younger guy, then you got older people, you got the whole spectrum of sales associates. And talking to him is like, you know, what do you look for when you're talking to somebody? What questions do you ask? You want them to ask, why do you want a gun? What do you need it for? He's like, you got to listen to what they're saying. Absolutely. And that's indoctrinated, you know, from him working here, and it's what he was taught to do. Partly because it's common sense, partly because it's the right thing, and partly because that's what Royal Range says to do. But it's really cool to see, and just watching people walk around the store, the construction worker guy, you know, he's kind of, you know, standoffish a little bit. I just asked him, hey man, sorry, Noah's busy. He's going to grab somebody for you. I was like, what are you looking at? He's like, AKs. I was like, cool. And his face low, he's like, yeah, cool. I was like, so I chatted with him for a second, you know, and then, you know, someone came over and helped him immediately. But it was just cool to see. So between doing jiu-jitsu here, the parties, which is impressive, especially, you know, that you guys went to a wedding convention and set it up. Which
you got to be innovative, right?
Yeah, you got to reach out, think outside the box. I love that. That, your staff, the training you do. Can you talk to us a little bit about training? And the reason I ask, I do training, and you know Steve. Steve and I do it together. Absolutely. And Steve actually works here, right, part-time. So he runs some of the stuff you guys do. When we do training, it's different. People are showing up for 2 days, right? Sometimes 1 day, but usually 2 days, all day. And we're covering everything from start to finish. Our market's different, and it's pretty much always on the weekends besides our law enforcement stuff. You guys are a retail location, a store that has a, you know, 10 to 8 or 9 o'clock at night or whatever. Your customer base is probably a lot more people that are working during the week and they're coming out after work too, right? It's a big chunk of it we don't hit. How do you guys offer training for that market, for those people? Well, shorter classes, different types of classes?
Absolutely. So we thought about it. We thought about the weekend. And what our revenue is on the weekend, you know, whether it's parties, which parties are great revenue, range, people coming in and renting an hour on the lane and so forth. And then we're looking at the overall gross versus what we can provide. And then we're looking at, say when they go to see BAER Solutions, okay, they know you guys are top in the business. So they're going to go there and they're going to do this. But not everybody can say, I'm going to be gone for a weekend, I'm not going to travel here, this, that, and the other. And since we have, you know, pretty good sized population base, you know, within 75 to 100 miles, we said, okay, we're going to offer series. And so what we're going to do, we're going to have like a defensive pistol series. So every Monday for like 3 weeks, you have defensive pistol 1, 2, and 3. And then what we also do, sometimes we'll offer 2 1s to get more people that can get it, and then offer 2 2s, and then the 3. So it's a numbers game. So we try to offer so many level 1s, level 2s, to try to get you 3, because it's like anything else. Things come up.
They do.
So if you're only strictly doing a level 1, then 2, then 3, you have somebody that may get to 2, and something comes up and they can't get 3, and they have to wait for another six weeks or so for it to cycle back over. Well, we found an answer to that. We offer so many of the level 1s, so many level 2s, so many level 3s. And then what we do, we have like a defensive pistol series, an everyday carry series, which is concerned with your pistol and different modes of the way you carry it and deployment and so forth, and rifle. Then we have a gunfighter where you're taking both the handgun and the carbine or the rifle and putting it together. And so everything is based upon what a person will do to defend themselves. Not only in their house, perhaps in their business. If something happens in a location where they're armed, or where they can get to their gun, or whatever's necessary. We try to cover those things, but we try to give them the ability to take it over time. And that, for us, that allows so many more people because you don't have to worry about travel. You don't have to worry about lodging. And so basically you got the course fee, your ammunition, showing up.
It's kind of like if somebody can make it to the gym twice a week, you know, you can expect, I imagine a lot of these people, they come for, you know, Tuesday night is their night, and they come here and they kind of look at it like a gym membership. I'm going to train. And I train for a few hours, and I know next week I'm going to go. And if I can't make it that week, I'll be there the next week, you know, and so on and so forth. But it's cool that they can stack it up, and they're always getting some fresh, so they can retake that and, you know, get practice
and
we
do. We have so many folks that repeat.
Yeah.
Because, okay, they may have a real good foundation in the basics, but they're saying this level 2 or this level 3. And once you're at a certain level, we'll let you pick and choose.
Yeah.
So if you want to retake Gunfighter 2 or Gunfighter 3, and we give you a discount for it. So, you know, it's going to be a, you know, a perceived value. It's going to be ease of use. So once again, we're trying to make it, you know, easy for the customer, while trying to really ascertain their skill set and give them a goal that they can reach. So that's why we have information packets we pass out every class. So when you come to the class, you open up the folder. It's got points of interest. It's got articles. It's got drills. It's got things for you to continue on with your training. Of course, we'll give you a certificate of attendance, certificate of accomplishment.
Yep.
When you finish a series, we're gonna give you like a little coin or something, because
and the shooting challenges too.
Well,
Those
yeah,
are given too.
yeah, and you know it's just a path to success. And that's one thing that I learned a long time ago. If you give somebody a path to success, explain to them the journey, and they can see where they're going. They can see what the goals, the expectations are, and what they have to do to accomplish it.
Yeah.
It makes it easy. It makes it motivational for them. And ultimately, that's what we want. We want a well-armed society. We want a well-educated society, because I believe a well-educated, well-armed society is a polite society.
It's true.
You know, I mean, I truly believe that.
I agree.
You know,
you guys, in addition to having your own training, you guys have people from outside the industry, or outside of your training company. So instructors from all over the place. I know Frank Proctor, Scott Jedlinski, there's been some others. You guys get a lot of celebrities. We did a class here that was, we used your shoot house in Force on Force, and we did like Patrol 1 and 2 man CQB, Force on Force here. How often do you bring in outside instructors to teach you?
Sometimes 2 or 3 times a month, sometimes once a month.
There's always something going on every month.
This coming weekend we've got Frank Proctor here. Frank's going to be back. I think this is his 3rd time here.
Yeah.
He's going to be here Saturday and Sunday. In August, I've got Tom Gibbons coming with an instructor development class. I've got Tatiana Whitlock coming, so it'll be Tatiana's 2nd or 3rd time coming. We teach gun sight classes here, so we're actually a satellite training academy for gun sight, and so we offer 8, 10, 12 gun sight classes, 250s, close quarter carbine, close quarter pistol.
So you really cover the spectrum of everything.
We try to, and then
if someone wants something, they're going to have that flavor. Like if they want to, you know, more of this, like that person's probably, if you guys don't offer it, they'll have somebody here for it. It's just cool how you bring a lot of different aspects.
Well, we do government training too. You know, we have Homeland Security training here. We have, I call them ABCs. We've got almost all the feds that come in here in Qual. We have a lot of private sector security companies that come in and use our facilities. We train quite a few on the private sector. We do a lot of executive protection training here. We do a lot of site security assessments for businesses, for churches. We do a lot of active shooter training. We do a lot of medical training. So we everything from impact to you know, blade to hand-to-hand, whatever, because you know, we believe that a gun is not every answer, not all the answers. Situational awareness goes a long way, so we have classes that are just totally around that, conversations and considerations. So when it comes to our training academy, I break down the training academy to hosted training, civilian training, and then outside or government training. So basically it's like 3 parts. Which is great. Same way with retail. You know, retail, you're selling guns and ammo and accessories and blah, blah, blah. And gunsmithing is the same way. You know, gunsmithing does, we used to do a lot of traditional gunsmithing. You know, unfortunately, wood and iron's not a thing like it used to be. You know, a lot of polymer stuff out there, a lot of, it's totally different than when I was a kid. You know, revolvers in 1911s and Browning high powers are built today. And great platforms, but now you've got polymer striker fire that, you know. And
I know something about your gunsmiths, and they are true gunsmiths. And I know that, one, because it's obvious you go back there and see the work, everything they're doing, Cerakote. When we went back there with Tom, we go back there and we're like, hey guys, do you mind if Tom just gets a quick clip, some B-roll just to show the gunsmith thing? And they were like, I'm out. They didn't want to be any part of it. They all went and hid in the back, and the one dude's out there like, he's like, oh, shit. shit. You know, it's like they want to be left alone. They just want to work on guns.
Yeah,
I was like, that's a gunsmith for him. But it was pretty funny to see that.
It's old world craftsmanship.
Yeah,
Boom.
yeah, leave me alone. Let me do my thing.
Yeah, and they got great personalities, almost none.
Can't say anything bad about them because they're into them.
Yeah, but they do great work, man.
They do,
and we're
man.
fortunate on that. And of course,
They're great.
You know, we do all of our own repairs on our machine guns, and of course, we do all of our conversions that we have to do accordingly to rules and laws.
Yeah. So, understand the gun store and everything, and kind of the dynamic here, and how you guys are handling everything. The last couple of years have been a roller coaster. Ups and downs, and right when it picks back up, and it's always changing. It's just constantly evolving, and it's big storm. What's been some of the challenges, or the biggest challenge for you guys last year versus this year? Or what's your biggest challenge this year versus last year? And I know, like we said, pistols sold out, but now rifles aren't selling as much, right?
Yeah.
And we see that. And then it was a big ammo thing, but now we're seeing ammo start to come down. And I guess what I'm asking is, what's the state of sales, the range stores, and the gun industry and sales?
Last year for us, knock on wood, we were very blessed. It was tough to get product.
Yeah.
It was very tough to get serialized items. So, firearms, lowers, whatever. It was tough to get any of that.
Yeah.
And then ammunition was even tougher. We were blessed. We had enough connections and we had enough friends in the business that we were able to. We've had case sales of ammo the whole time. Now that doesn't mean that ammo wasn't tough to get. It was super, super tough to get. Recently, like you said, see some prices leveling on out, but you still see, some unavailability of certain things.
Yeah.
12 gauge hunting type shotgun shells. The 7.5 shot, the stuff that you and I would go hunting squirrels back in the day with. That's tough to get. Waterfowl ammunition is almost non-existent. The turkey loads this year were very, very hard to come by, and I'm being told that those type of shotgun rounds are still going to be tough. It's not easy to get slug and buck like it used to be. You can get it, but it's everything's at a premium price compared to what we were used to in 2019 and before. Of course, we've seen ammo prices go up in 2008. We've seen it go up in 2011, 2012, and usually they were around some sort of event where it was a political or where it was a tragic shooting or what have you. But I think last year was a manufacturing thing because of COVID. You had a lot of manufacturing shut down. You had a shortage of raw materials that were stateside. You still have a shortage of raw materials, specifically primers. Primers went out of this world. I mean,
really?
Last year 100 primers. You used to could buy like 10,000 primers to what 100 primers.
Why is that? Why is it that primers are the most expensive thing and the hardest thing to get?
Well, it's because because of regulations, we don't do the mining like we used to, so we don't have the lead and the copper and that going on, especially this year because of certain regulations. Certain things have went away because of legislation, like the pipeline, and so within some of those rules, regulations, executive orders, whatever, within there's things that affect mining and things because of trying to be a greener type of environment. So it drives the cost up. And the thing is, a lot of those raw materials that we use to make our bullets are from overseas. There was only so many factories in the world that was extruding brass. So they would extrude the raw materials of brass, and the brass would come over here, and the manufacturers would take that brass, that extruded brass, and they would make the brass casings. Well, there was an attempted coup in Turkey, and two of the factories.
What year was that?
That was the year before last.
Yeah.
2019, and those guys ended up losing their head.
Yeah, I remember that. So I was in Turkey a few years before that, and then not long after I left, the coup happened. Yeah. So I kind of I lived in Turkey for doing a mission over there, and I kind of saw that build up and then come to fruition. It was like, I remember the rumors and stuff and what people were talking about, and then all that happened. Well, I knew some guys that were there while it was going on.
COVID was almost a perfect storm for the firearms industry. It created a demand.
Yeah.
And people really don't understand the demand until you try to equate toilet paper and a few things we've seen last year. Demand has such an adverse effect on availability and price. It's a great thing to have, demand, but it's a balance act.
Yeah.
So whether you're doing milk, bread, and eggs, toilet paper, bullets, it's a balance act. And when you're coming to production, people think, oh, they can just open another production line. It's not that easy. You've got equipment, you've got training of the personnel, you've got execution, you've got shipping, receiving, raw materials, and it's, you know, it's a lot involved, and that's what created the ammo shortage.
Yeah.
And then the increase in price, and we're still, I mean, come on, we're still suffering from the price.
Oh yeah.
You know, if you can find defensive 9mm jacketed hollow points, you're still paying $1.50 to $2 a round. And last year, I think it got up to $2.50 a round in some places.
Yeah.
I seen not too far from here, 500 rounds of Remington 22, the lead 20 Thunderbolts. Remember?
Yeah.
They were still selling for $99.99 plus tax for 500 rounds.
Yeah.
You know, that's insane. But it's not insane that that particular business can't get that.
Yes.
Because if they're not part of a buy group or they're not part of a large chain of stores, you know, they've got to get it where they can get it.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes, you know, you're paying through the nose to be able to have product because you can't sell a gun without ammo.
Yeah.
And so right now you're not seeing 270 and 30-06 and 6.5 that much, even though there's a great demand for it.
Yeah.
The resources are going into your 9mm, your 5.56, and, you know, things like that. I mean, you know, we've seen law enforcement drop the 40 in droves in the last year or two because there's availability of 9mm because everybody's producing as much 9 as they can. And so law enforcement is saying, oh my gosh, let's drop the 40. And you're seeing that going on, which is great, you know, for somebody like Glock or SIG or whoever's, you know, selling the guns. But the thing is, you still got to have it. You know, and we seen the start of this year, there was a shortage of raw materials for the manufacturers because of the uptick in prices of steel and stuff like that. So actually, they were hurting for just the small screws and the pins, and so it was hurting the process of manufacturing, which, you know, gives us less materials to sell. Right now, we're doing probably 10 to 12 handguns for every long gun, and this time last year it was almost even.
Really?
You know, it's about maybe 4 to 1.
Wow.
And that's pretty close. When you're selling 4 handguns to, you know, one, you know, AR or AR pistol.
When the price of a handgun is a third the price of a rifle.
Oh,
you
sure.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
even a cheap rifle is, you know, $900, $1,000, and you can get out the door with some sort of handgun at $350 to $600.
Yeah.
You know.
So going back to the ammo, when prices go up, they never really always return back to that, you know, lowest price. Wow. Do you think, just kind of speculating here, do you think that ammo, and I was told that we're looking at 2 years till prices get close to normal again. Do you think ammo prices will ever get back to normal, to where they were, let's say 2018, 2017 timeframe, or do you think they'll come down much at all? Or how long that'll take?
Okay, let me equate this to when I first started driving. I paid like 32 cents a gallon of gas.
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
Yeah, it's always gonna get more.
And, you know, we know what gas was last year.
Yeah.
And we know what gas is now.
Yeah.
And I would speculate that gas is gonna be a lot like ammo. No matter what's happening in the next 2 to 3 years, unless there's a severe reversal in opinions and legislation, I think we're gonna be stuck with what we've got. I think ammo, I mean, right now you're looking at, you know, anywhere between 32 to, you know, 45 cents a round for 9mm full metal jacket.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see it going a lot lower. I wish it would.
Yeah.
You know, but then that creates a whole nother bunch of problems. You know, if they do lower the price and we do have the quantity, how many people are going to stockpile? They're going to say, I'm never going to get caught again. Well, if that happens again, then you're going to run out of product, which is going to increase the demand, and they're going to try to keep up with the production, which is going to raise the price up. So, I mean, people need to have an understanding of economics.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember seeing the folks in the grocery store with, you know, like 20 packages of toilet paper.
Yeah.
And then you're out the next day.
Or the people that fill it up with gas, you know, like the gas cans with not too long ago.
Yeah, put them in Ziploc bags, it'll work,
So, well, the good thing is we can hear all the gunfire going off around us. The ranges are actually, sure that ranges are right below us, right? So it's kind of cool to see, but people are still shooting. We know that. One of the hard things for us with ammo prices has been people are hitting us up as instructors saying, hey, 2-3 days before a course, I can't find ammo for a decent price. I want my money back. It's like, first of all, it's 2 or 3 days before a course, so I don't have enough time if somebody else was on standby to put them in your spot. Second of all, this has been going on this way for over a year. So we're not, you can't, sorry man, I'm not gonna give you future credit,
Yeah.
you know, to another class, but I can't refund your money,
Yeah.
you know? So what we're having to do is actually lower the round count in classes. It went from 500-600 rounds a day. Now it's 4 or 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we're spending a lot more time dry firing, which is good.
Oh, dry firing's great.
Yeah, we're still getting good work in. We're still getting the same result, right? But we're just having to cut down cost and ammo. So we're all having to get a little innovative. And everybody's joking around on the training side. They're like, well, what are you going to do if, you know, guns and this and the training industry goes away, you know, the bottom falls out or whatever, and, you know, people can't guns and they can't show up and they can't do the training, right? It's like, you're probably going to see a lot of tactical shotgun and tactical archery classes popping up, you know, like some
it's
guy,
like-
Steve loves shooting his bow. Maybe he'll do something like that.
Well, it's like prohibition. I mean, they
Yeah.
outlawed liquor, but it didn't go away.
There you
So
go.
there's always ways around, like you said. You know,
Yeah.
you train this, train that. You know, the biggest thing we train is the person's mind and their attitude.
Yeah.
And then no matter what they pick up, whether it's a stick or whatever,
Right.
you know, we want them to be as efficient as possible.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, you know, that's where we're at on that. You know, I equate ammo prices, like you said, they're still shooting today. You know, back in the day, for me, a $5 burger was a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, but for some of these new folks, a $15 burger is the norm.
Yeah, that's what they're used
So
to.
for them, the cost of that box of ammo is the norm. Whereas, you know, I long for the days of buying a box of 5.56, you know, for $1.68. It's not going to happen again.
Yeah.
But so everybody's got their reality, their truth, and that's the way we attack it when it comes to the new people in our industry.
Yeah.
You know, we want them to be here. We welcome them with open arms, but we also don't try to put a lot of our old beliefs. So we try to have the conversation.
Yeah.
Because, you know, to them, okay, $600 for the gun, the case, the accessory, and the bullets are $30 a box. Fine, who cares?
Yeah.
You know, and we're kind of like, oh gosh.
That's a lot of money.
Well, you know, we were very, very afraid when the ammunition and availability was hard. We tried to hold the line on both.
Yeah.
You know, one of my sales associates was at another location on the other end of the state, and they came in there and said, "Oh, so-and-so handgun in there is like $900. We're still selling it for $699." I said, "Yeah, we're going to still sell it for $699 because we're making good margin. That's our business model.
Yeah.
We're paying the bills. We're making money." You know, and I understand, you know, other people may have to do what they have to do because their circumstances are different.
Yes.
So, you know, everybody gets wore out on the internet, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I can't believe that they're charging this much for that. Well, you may not know their circumstances.
Yeah.
You know, some people are paying way too much to live in a single wide trailer.
True.
But that may be the best they can do.
Yeah. That's a really good perspective on it. So, is there anything that you guys have seen over the past year, let's just say this year, it doesn't matter, that y'all were surprised? So say there was an uptick and, man, we're selling a lot of this. There's a lot of demand from, you know, the customer base for a certain product or a certain item or something new that you haven't seen before in years. Has there been anything over the past year or so that's kind of surprised you?
Well, the last year we were surprised at the number of people that openly admitted they were formally anti-gun, anti-Second Amendment,
Yeah.
that for one reason or another, they thought now that they needed something, they needed a firearm.
I had a neighbor down the street, so the same thing. He's like, I do not like guns, this and that. He's like, you're like a gun guy, right? I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I guess you can call me that. You know, I know a good bit about them. I'm like, well, what about this and what about that? You know, and they're asking questions that they've never, you know, wanted to ask before. Why do you think that is? Just what's been going on around the country and seeing things on the news?
You know, well, it was probably the second or third day. And, you know, we've got cones outside. We've got some of our RSOs are outside making people be in line with social distancing because that was the rules in Nashville at the time. And we didn't want to have a crowd bum rush in here.
Yeah.
Because you don't know, because people at that time were very excited. They were very emotional.
Yeah.
And a lot of these folks were not former gun people.
Yeah.
And then we actually had people say, we used not to like you people at all. And, you know, to be referred to as you people,
Yeah.
you know,
A little
that's
demeaning.
usually not a good sign to begin with.
Yeah.
And so after that happened on that first day when it started happening, and we closed that night, we all sat down and said, okay, let's talk about what's happened and how we're going to deal with it. And, you know, for me, I was like, okay, you know, just learning business.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like I said, I come from a military law enforcement contract background. So that's business, but it's different business.
Yeah.
It's operational and getting the mission done and so forth. business is different with the spreadsheets and figuring all that and the customer service, and so we said, okay, this is opportunity. This is opportunity for these people to become us.
Yes.
They may not become us in total political views or habits, but at least the common ground is gun ownership and the right to keep and bear arms.
Yes, and I think that's something that this was a big opportunity for a lot of people across the country. And I think some people handled it well, like you guys did, and you said, hey, people are showing up and this is what they want. We're not going to turn these people away. We're not going to put them off to, you know, our lifestyle or whatever it is. I think you saw a lot of other people that said, we don't want you, right? Like, no, this is ours, this isn't for you. And it turned a lot of potential gun owners or just supporters, or I think a better way to put it, it's just people that understand what all of this is. And that's the thing. You get a lot of people and naysayers out there and they say a lot of stuff about gun owners. They don't know any real gun owners. Yeah. The only thing they know is what they see on TV and the parodies that they put out on comedy shows, right? You know, when Hollywood puts out making fun of people and talking down and being condescending. Sure. But when they get into the store and you look around, and, you know, just like that guy yesterday, you know, kind of eyeballing, looking around. You can tell he probably felt a little uncomfortable, right? And walking into most gun stores, looking at him, I can understand why I felt a little uncomfortable, right? And then, you know, I look like a bit of a stereotype when it comes to former military guys, you know, and I accept that fully. Sure. But walked up and said, hey man, what's up? Oh, look at AKs. That's a cool gun. He was like, yeah, it is. And just that was all it took, man.
Yeah, you had the affinity right there.
Yeah, that's it. That's all it is. And I think once people get in and you just get to talk to people, you understand, I don't think this is what I thought it was, or it's not what it was made out to be. You see just genuine people, and I think that's the coolest thing about seeing what you're talking about, that uptick in people who would have never owned a gun before are now looking at it. That first experience that someone has with somebody like that is going to be that defining moment, and that will shape their opinion for the rest of their lives. And that is so critical moment. And it's not everybody's doing that, and I'm sure there's people that showed up here and, you know, a small minority, and they didn't feel right or whatever, and they just walked out, right? Maybe they didn't give it the full opportunity. Who knows what happened? But I think it's been a real critical time for us right now. And it's interesting to see you talk about that.
I think the opportunity, it's been the best opportunity in probably the last, I would say, just about 18 months that the firearms industry has ever had.
Yep.
You know, it's a shame that we weren't able to have the product and the ammo to actually truly meet the need, especially across the board, because so many places struggled. You know, I don't know what the official count is, but somebody said we had probably lost more brick and mortar stores during COVID on the firearms industry than we lost in 2017 under what they called the Trump slump. Yeah. Because, you know, when President Trump came in, you know, there was a belief that, you know, he's pro-Second Amendment, they're not going to be coming after the guns. And so everybody kind of like, whew, they relaxed. And so gun sales not only leveled off, they kind of went down a little bit. Yeah. Because you wouldn't worry about grabbing guns. One of the things that surprised us this year is the lack of disciplined gun grabbing. You know, it's like the opinions above and so forth can't stay focused to actually come after. You know, we jokingly say that it's like, you know, we're fighting an underdeveloped opponent here. You know, we think that they really want to enact gun control, but it's like, you know, okay, yeah, we're ready for the AR pistol grab. Yeah. You know, we were trying to get ready, you know, for that. And, you know, there was words spoken and things that said we were going to do it, and it never came to fruition. Yeah. So, you know, I hope it continues. Don't get me wrong. I don't want anybody to grab anybody's guns or, you know, any more, you know, firearms enforcement. I'm really enthusiastic about what the circuit courts have said recently. You know, the one out on the West Coast that said, you know, some of the laws that California was trying to put on its people there was unconstitutional. The recent one with the Fourth Circuit that said that people under the age of 21 should be able to buy a handgun. Yeah. You know, and you know, when you look at it, hey, if you can go to war and if you can vote and you can do this, why not? You know, but that just goes to show you the importance when you're putting the right judges in certain locations, not just the Supreme Court, but circuit courts and so forth. And so the one thing that surprised me this year is, you know, I haven't seen you know, I haven't seen the real rush to buy like I did last year. Yeah. But I think part of that's because people are getting out after a year. You know, downtown Nashville is booming, so people are spending money on vacations and entertainment. Yeah. So I think the dollars that they were spending last year in droves for their protection, whether it was because they were wearing about a socioeconomic collapse or
Yeah.
some sort of mass violence because of
Right.
protest.
Civil
or,
unrest or
yeah,
something.
whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think you quite have that, at least that worry like we had last year. For as if the volume was 10 last year, it may be at 5.
Yeah.
I think right now the buzzword is crime. I know here
Yeah.
locally, if you look at the the media, I mean, it seems to be quite a bit of activity going on.
Well, crime's going up because places like in New York, in California, and other places are enacting legislation that says we're not going to pursue not violent, but property theft below $900.
Yeah.
That's why Walgreens closed stores, right? Or something I saw about them closing stores in San Francisco, right? How true that is, I'm not sure, but it seemed like it. And then places in New York, these cops are being told, do not chase a suspect. Someone runs, you don't go after him. Or this happens, just let him go. It's like you're telling me that if someone's committing a crime, they can get away with it? Yes. Okay. So what does that put security on? It puts the security and your security back on you, and it's less reliant. It's not that the cops are doing anything wrong; they're doing what they're allowed to do.
Oh, yeah.
It's the legislation and the people talking about this and
in
creating
some
law.
places they feel like they're not allowed to do anything.
People have to accept their own, security a little bit more than they have in the past because they're not confident.
I think that's one of the greatest things that's happened for the Second Amendment in the firearms industry.
Yeah.
People are realizing, people that never did think about it.
Yeah.
It never was a consideration because they were busy doing whatever they were doing. They were like, oh my goodness, I probably need to take responsibility for this.
That's it. It was outsourced before then. Now we're bringing it back.
Well, I mean,
Not for everybody, but for some people,
you
that's
know,
how they viewed it,
coming
right?
from law enforcement, we have hopes of preventing crime, but we know that we're mainly reactionary.
Yeah.
We hope that patrols will do this, and to a certain extent, it does have an effect. But it's a chain of events that have to occur with the judicial system, the criminal courts, law enforcement, corrections, rehabilitation. All of it's got to work in almost perfect harmony, which it never will. But still, it's got to work toward that goal.
Yeah.
And of course, what we've seen in the last few years is a degradation of law enforcement's ability to do their job.
Yeah.
And it's because of perception, it's because of opinion, and most of it's very, very skewed.
Yeah.
And, we all need to be trained better. Just about everything involving a gun or a knife or your fist or whatever, it's a perishable skill.
Yeah.
To what degree it perishes also depends on to what degree you achieved.
Yeah.
And for how long you maintained that level. But I think people are realizing that, I have no level, and I have nothing, not even a good baseball bat, and so that's caused them to arm up, and it's also caused them to look at the right to arm themselves.
It's interesting you say that. I had a couple, and they're graduate students. Pretty good school up north. I mean, known for engineering, and I think one was like an aeronautical engineer, and the other was like a physics or physicist. I don't even know. I couldn't pronounce what they were doing. You know what I mean? One of those types. Younger couple. They looked like a couple a little bit. They could be on The Big Bang Theory, the TV show. Had a home break-in. And they said, crap. He's like, I had a gun, but I didn't know how to use it. Guy came in the front door. I pulled out the gun. He's like, and I just stood there. And the guy he left. He goes, but I'm pretty sure he knows I don't think I didn't know what I was doing. He goes, so what happens? He goes, this happened before. Got some training. They got into that, do they have to be the best shooters in the world? No, but they want to know what to do and feel confident and competent with that gun. What happened later? Well, she was pulling in. She came to a class and we talked about pre-assault cues, right? Heuristic cues. We talked about all this stuff that leads up to it. What's out of the normal patterns, predatory gait, predatory posturing, these things. She was in her car. She said, it's summer. He's wearing a hoodie and he's got the hood pulled up. And he's walking with a predatory gait, posturing. I can tell this. He is oriented towards my vehicle, but he's trying to walk here, but you can just tell. She's like, so immediately I saw him, I was pulling in the drive, I saw him down there, and then I saw my rear view mirror, side view, locked the doors of me, and she's like, grab this gun, little lady, big old gun. Pulls it out and holds like this. This dude, and she said, as I pulled the gun out just to hold it and feel better, I started to look over, and he pulled on that door handle so hard, he almost broke the door handle off, and was trying to get in, looking at her, and she was just like, but that could have been her. She could have been that statistic, I was like, well, first off, maybe y'all should move, but second, you guys can only afford what you can afford. And it doesn't matter how much housing costs in an area, none of that matters. Your security is your security. Doesn't matter if you live in $500 a month rent or $5,000 a month rent. Doesn't matter. You should still be able to be secure. And that's what, fortunately, they came away pretty well from this, and they felt a lot better. I think they moved on now. I'm not sure where they're at. They probably graduated by now. God knows what they're doing. Probably figuring out string theory or quantum leaps and stargates or something. But
well, everybody needs to think like that. Unless you're marooned on Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
If you're mobile, if you're from here to here, things can occur. Odds are, statistics are probably not, but the statistics are changing.
Yeah.
From what they were probably in 1960s America, are so different now as far as the murder rates.
Yeah.
We've got more population. And of course, there's many things going on.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. Urban, rural, more or less affluent. It doesn't matter. Crime is going to hit you.
I'm on vacation. I end up, taking a wrong turn in the rental car, and now I'm in a bad neighborhood, and things can happen.
And they know you ain't supposed to be there.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, everybody needs to have an analytical mind. If you're going to go ride a motorcycle, there's things you need to do.
Yeah.
Well, okay, what's my posture look like for my security?
Yeah.
Oh, and most people, last year, they're like, oh, I have none. I have none. The police was not going to take care of it because the conversation was happening. Defund the police.
Yeah.
Police being pulled out. Police being prosecuted for this, that, and the other. Outside normally what they were. And don't get me wrong. Everybody makes mistakes in every profession. Doesn't matter if it's law enforcement, military, doctor, what. We have bad apples everywhere, and nobody should tolerate bad behavior, bad tactics.
Right.
And that's why we should all do better. But it's just like in school. There's a lot of things we learned in high school that are not applicable to the real world. Nobody taught you about how to go buy your first car at a car dealership and how to interact, how to deal with the IRS and what's a good medical plan. But all these things are part of being an adult and being responsible, whether you're responsible for yourself or a unit or many people. And so it's a concern. Safety, training is a concern, just like everything else.
So what's one thing, and we've covered a lot of stuff, and I think it's probably good. We'll start wrapping up here, but I want to, if you were to give advice to somebody, say they're a first-time gun owner, they're thinking about a gun. Say it's that person you talked about that didn't like guns, never owned a gun, then all of a sudden now they're thinking about that. What advice would you give them, or how would you hope to lead that person to make a good decision?
Well, the first thing I would advise the person is to, have an inner conversation, okay?
Yeah.
Why do I think I need this?
Yeah.
And then, that's going to create questions that maybe you can't answer. I would use, nowadays we can use the internet. I would try to answer some of those questions. Okay, I need this gun for self-protection because a perceived crime, social unrest, whatever. And then I would try to find a location, hopefully us or somebody like us, and engage with that person, whether it's your trainer or whether it's a retail associate, whatever, and have a conversation. The conversation is the most important because you can't get education or knowledge unless there's a back and forth. So that's what I would encourage somebody to have, that inner dialogue, look things up on the internet, see what they can see there, and then seek out a professional trainer, and seek out a professional trainer and a good business that sells guns, and make sure run really fast from somebody tells you this is the only way.
Yeah.
Whether it's buying a gun or whether it's solving a problem.
Yeah. Well, they say never say never and never say always.
Absolutely.
Well, unless we're saying it in that statement, but other than that statement, you know what I mean? That's what they used to always tell us in the military.
But I think the inner conversation and then being open and, like you said, try not to be afraid. Go in there. You don't have to be, too bold, but you need to be, you need to have a conscious, whether you write it down. I'm real big about writing things down.
Yeah, you guys notice, the iPad here.
I would follow up on that. I mean, it's just like your videos. I mean, these videos are going to be on, available for the public, and it's educational. So look at things like this, and then continue your journey, and don't be afraid. And just don't back yourself into a corner that it must be this way. Yeah. But just be realistic with yourself, be truthful with yourself, and you'll be surprised what you'll find out.
I think that's great advice, and especially, well, one, you see it every day, right? I don't know how, there's got to be thousands of people that come through here every week or even every month. With that said, people, they're different, right? And they step in and they have these stereotypes and they see something from the outset. And I think, just like you're saying, if you think that in this lifestyle, this community, or this scene, or whatever you want to call it, right? If you think nobody's like you, keep looking. Because in classes, I've had people that, they were adult film stars, you know, or they were this, or they were former this, or they come from this background. I mean, pastor, I mean, all kinds of people, every color, every shape, every size. It's like, just look long enough, you know, like they'll be there. And you'll probably be shocked about what you have in common with the people that, if you look at them, don't judge that book by its cover, because you get to the pages, you'll probably find a lot of good information. You'll probably share a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
But I think that's great, man, because too many stereotypes. Just get out there, and I think it'll surprise a lot of people.
I think a lot of the stereotypes went away last year.
Yeah.
Because of the community growing so much. I mean, that's probably the biggest growth that the firearms industry's ever seen.
Yeah.
What we've seen last year, and it continues on.
I do have one last question for you. I just thought of it. So, kind of a just random question. Somebody asked me a while ago, if you were to describe yourself, if you were to pick one gun and say that gun is my spirit animal, right? Or that gun describes me. Or if I was to pick up a gun and be like, man, I could just have one, like I feel comfortable with this. This is what I like that's my thing. What would that be for you? I think I have an idea, but I don't know, because you mentioned it several times, but.
It's kind of hard. I mean, yeah, I'm a bit old school. You know, I want to say a handgun. For me, I feel like I can do most things I need to do with a handgun.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day, I would have said 1911.
Yeah.
You know, now, you know, 2011 is pretty good.
Yeah.
Especially what, you know, Staccato's pulling out.
Yeah.
So that would probably be something like my go-to.
Yeah. That'd be your iconic gun that you would like to carry.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was kicking and screaming when they made us go over to Glocks.
Yeah.
And then when they did, I was kind of happy for after I learned the system and so forth. But for me, it's going to be the semi-automatic handgun. Even though I do have I really love the older revolvers and stuff like that. But if I had to have one go-to, that's what it's going to be.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, Art, I appreciate it, man. We had a great time out here working with you and the staff and getting to talk to everybody. One, it's eye-opening, but two, it's just a lot of fun. It's a great environment here, and we had a great time. We really appreciate you, man.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Be back soon.